All right, let's dive deep into AI and education, especially online.
Yeah, sounds good.
Specifically, the ethical side of things.
Okay.
We've got a chapter from Learning Analytics in Open and Distributed Learning.
Uh-huh.
It focuses on ethical considerations.
Okay.
And we'll also be looking at a journal article about using those,
Yeah.
generative chatbots
Yeah.
in higher education.
Mm-hmm.
Those AI programs, they can chat with you like a person.
Right.
Kind of freaky. Right.
Yeah, it is fascinating for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing a huge shift in education,
Okay.
moving beyond just like understanding past data
Right.
to using AI to predict future trends.
Whoa. So predicting the future of learning.
Yeah.
So instead of just knowing, like someone struggled in algebra last year,
You're right.
AI might tell us who's likely to struggle next semester.
Exactly.
That's powerful, but also kind of scary.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
yeah.
It's power that needs to be handled really carefully.
And
Like, think of AI as a powerful tool,
Mm.
like a scalpel,
Uh-huh.
in the right hands.
Yeah.
It can do amazing things,
Right.
but misused, and things can go south very quickly.
Okay, I'm starting to see why the ethics side is so important.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that,
Sure.
can you give me like a basic rundown
Yeah.
of how AI is already being used in education?
Mm-hmm.
I know we're focusing on online learning, but I'm curious about the bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah, so the book chapter actually breaks down AI applications into
okay.
3 main groups: system-facing, learner-facing, and teacher-facing.
Okay.
System-facing is all about the behind-the-scenes stuff, like
Yeah.
helping administrators predict those dropout risks we talked about,
Right.
or manage resources more efficiently.
Try.
Learner-facing AI is all about making the learning experience better for the student.
Mm.
So think personalized tutoring programs that
Yeah.
adapt to your pace and learning style, or even AI-powered study tools that know when you're getting bored
Oh, wow.
and switch things up.
So basically a super smart tutor who never gets tired of explaining things.
Exactly.
That sounds amazing, especially for someone like me who sometimes needs things explained 5 different ways before it clicks.
Uh-huh.
What about teacher-facing AI?
Think of it as a tireless assistant
Okay.
for educators.
Right.
It can automate tasks like grading, provide feedback on assignments,
Mhm.
even help personalize lesson plans.
Okay.
The idea is to free up teachers
Yeah.
from the more tedious tasks
Right.
so they can focus on the human element of teaching,
Okay.
mentoring, inspiring, and connecting with students.
So AI can help administrators, teachers, and students.
Right.
But the book chapter, it specifically focuses on open and distributed learning environments.
Uh-huh.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah.
And why those environments might need AI even more than traditional classrooms?
Open and distributed learning is, it's basically what it sounds like. Learning that isn't confined to a specific physical classroom.
Okay.
Think massive open online courses, or MOOCs.
I've taken some of those.
Yeah, it also includes any kind of distance learning program.
Okay.
These environments often have tons of students
Yeah.
spread out geographically,
Right.
which presents unique challenges.
Okay.
For example, dropout rates tend to be much higher in online courses,
That makes sense.
partly because students can feel isolated and unsupported.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that way in some of the online courses I've taken.
Mm-hmm.
You log on, you're one of hundreds or even thousands of students,
Right,
and it's easy to feel like just a number in the system.
exactly. And that's where AI comes in.
Okay.
Imagine an AI-powered system that analyzes your learning pattern, engagement levels,
Okay.
and even your communication in online forums.
Okay.
It could identify early warning signs that a student is struggling or
Right.
feeling disconnected from the community.
So like a virtual safety net.
Yeah.
Catching students before they fall through the cracks.
That's the idea.
Okay.
It could provide personalized support,
Uh,
connect students with the resources they need,
yeah.
or even alert instructors to intervene before a student gets too discouraged and gives up.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But this brings us to the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Even if AI can do all of this amazing stuff,
Yeah?
there are still concerns about its use,
Uh-huh.
especially when it comes to things like data privacy.
Right.
We're talking about AI systems collecting tons of information on students, right? Everything from their grades to their learning styles to their online behavior.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's got to raise some red flags.
As AI gathers more data on students, it raises important questions about who owns that data,
right?
How it's being used, and what protections are in place to prevent misuse.
Like a trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
The potential for AI to personalize learning and provide incredible support is exciting. But the amount of information these systems need to collect is kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we've all seen those news stories about data breaches and companies misusing personal data.
That's why legal frameworks are trying to keep pace with the rapid evolution of AI and why there's so much debate about striking the right balance between innovation and student privacy.
Yeah.
There are laws like GDPR and FERPA, but as AI becomes more sophisticated, these regulations are constantly being challenged.
It sounds like it's still a bit of a Wild West out there in terms of how this data is being handled. It seems like transparency is key here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Students need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and have a say in how it's managed.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Informed consent is crucial. And it's not just about protecting students' privacy. It's about respecting their autonomy and their right to control their own information. Imagine a world where your learning data is used to create personalized educational pathways without your knowledge or consent.
Oh, wow.
That's a scenario we want to avoid.
It sounds like a science fiction movie where the AI starts making all the decisions for you.
Exactly.
It's not exactly the empowering future of education we were hoping for.
And this is where the whole issue of algorithmic transparency comes into play. Even if we have access to the algorithms driving these AI systems, they can be incredibly complex. Making it hard to know how they're reaching their conclusions. It's like a black box, data goes in, decisions come out. But what happens in between is a mystery.
So we're trusting these AI systems to make important decisions about students' lives. But we don't really know how they're making those decisions. That's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. And it gets even trickier when you consider the potential for algorithmic bias, where AI systems unintentionally perpetuate existing inequalities. Remember, AI learns from data. And if that data reflects societal biases, the AI will inherit those biases too.
Okay, that makes sense. So even though AI is this advanced technology, it's not immune to human prejudice.
Exactly.
And if the data it's learning from is already skewed, it could amplify those biases in education, which is the opposite of what we want.
Precisely. And that's why it's crucial to involve diverse perspectives in the development and implementation of these systems. We need educators, students, ethicists, and technologists all working together to make sure AI serves all learners fairly.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the human element, the ethical considerations, and ensuring that AI is used to create a more equitable and just learning environment.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it brings us to another critical question. Are students and staff even part of the conversation?
Oh, that's a really good point.
About AI in education.
You know, we've been talking about AI as this big force that's changing everything. But are the people who are actually going to be most affected by it even aware of what's going on?
That's the concern raised by the authors of this chapter. They cite a study that found students and staff often lack awareness and understanding of how their data is being collected and used in learning analytics.
Really?
There's a real disconnect between those developing the technology and those whose lives are being impacted by it.
So there's a risk that AI could be implemented in education without the input or consent of the very people it's supposed to be helping. That seems backwards, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
The authors advocate for a more inclusive approach where student and staff perspectives are integrated into every stage of the process. It's about collaboration, open communication, and making sure everyone feels heard and understood.
I like that. It's about shifting the power dynamic, making sure AI isn't just something that's being done to students and educators, but something they're actively involved in shaping. That feels much more empowering.
And it leads us to one of the newest and potentially most perplexing challenges in AI: hallucination.
AI hallucination.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that one.
Yeah.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It kind of is.
Okay.
Essentially, AI hallucination is when an AI system, like a chatbot, generates false or misleading information and presents it as fact. Okay. It's not intentional deception.
Right.
It's more like the AI making things up based on the data it's been trained on.
So it's like the AI is telling you a story, but it's not exactly clear where the line between fact and fiction is.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because if students can't trust the information they're getting from AI, it undermines the whole idea of AI as a reliable learning tool.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Imagine getting ready for a test and your AI study buddy is feeding you incorrect information.
Right.
Not exactly a recipe for success.
One of the articles we're looking at highlights a study that found a significant percentage of references generated by ChatGPT in case studies were completely fabricated.
Wow.
This is concerning because it shows how easy it is for AI to generate plausible sounding but completely inaccurate information.
So it's not enough to just take what the AI says at face value.
Exactly.
We need to be critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Double-checking information and making sure we're not blindly accepting everything the AI tells us.
Exactly. Right. And that's where the role of educators becomes even more critical.
Right.
They need to be aware of the potential for AI hallucination. Yeah. Teach students how to evaluate information from all sources, including AI, and guide them in developing strong critical thinking skills.
It's like teachers become these AI whisperers.
Yeah.
Helping students navigate the complexities of this new world of information and technology.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the need for ongoing professional development for teachers. Giving them the tools and knowledge they need to effectively integrate AI into their classrooms while mitigating the risks.
This is all so fascinating, but I have to admit, it's also a lot to wrap my head around. We've gone from personalized learning and AI tutors to data privacy concerns and AI hallucinations. It's like a roller coaster ride of possibilities and potential problems.
It is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that we're having this conversation. AI is here to stay, and it's going to have a huge impact on education.
So what can we do with all of this information?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
That's the perfect question to lead us into the next part of our deep dive. Where we'll explore some strategies for implementing AI in education responsibly and ethically.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
All right. So we've talked about some pretty mind-blowing possibilities, but also some very real concerns.
Yeah, for sure.
The question now is, where do we go from here?
Right. Like, how do we actually make sure AI is used ethically and effectively in education?
You're hitting the nail on the head, and that's why having these discussions is so important.
Yeah.
One of the key takeaways from our sources is the need for strong data governance.
Data governance.
Think of it as a set of rules and procedures that protect student data at every stage.
Right.
From collection and storage to usage and sharing.
So it's not just about having a privacy policy tucked away on a website somewhere.
Right.
It's about actively managing and protecting that data.
Exactly. And it has to be adaptable because AI technology is constantly evolving.
Right. What works today might not be enough tomorrow.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see why that's important. Yeah. Especially given the sheer volume of data we're talking about. But data governance is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right.
What about the actual learning experience?
Yeah.
How do we design curriculums and teaching methods that prepare students for a world where AI is everywhere?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting ideas I came across in the research is that we need to focus less on teaching students how to use AI tools and more on teaching them how to think about AI.
Oh, interesting.
It's about cultivating critical thinking, information with literacy and ethical awareness.
So instead of just teaching kids how to code a chatbot, we need to teach them how to spot a chatbot that's spreading misinformation.
Exactly.
Or to question whether they should be using a chatbot for that particular task.
Exactly. We need to equip them with the skills to be discerning users and responsible citizens in an AI-driven world.
Yeah.
And it's not just about technical skills. It's about those uniquely human qualities. AI can't replicate creativity, empathy, ethical reasoning, and complex problem solving.
It's like we're entering this era where human skills are becoming even more valuable, not less.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the role of teachers.
Okay.
There's this fear that AI will replace teachers.
Right.
But what our sources suggest is actually quite the opposite.
So it's not about AI versus teachers, but AI working with teachers.
Precisely.
Okay.
Think of AI as a teaching assistant on steroids.
All right, a teaching assistant on steroids.
It can grade those multiple choice tests, give basic feedback on writing assignments, even analyze student data to identify who needs extra support.
Right.
This frees up teachers to do what they do best. Mentoring, guiding, inspiring, and building relationships with their students.
Okay, so the teacher's role becomes more about those higher level interactions,
right?
Those uniquely human aspects of teaching that AI can't replicate.
Exactly.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like AI takes care of the grunt work,
yeah,
and teachers get to focus on the heart of education.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that AI is still a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
We need ethical leadership from school administrators, policymakers, and curriculum developers to ensure AI is implemented in a way that benefits all students.
It's like anything else, right? It's not the technology itself that's good or bad.
Exactly.
It's how we choose to use it.
Right.
We need to be intentional about our choices, have open discussions about the implications, and make sure we're not just blindly adopting AI without considering the consequences.
I completely agree.
Okay.
And speaking of being intentional, let's shift gears a bit and talk about generative chatbots.
Okay, generative chatbots.
They're a hot topic right now.
Yeah, they are.
And they present some very specific ethical challenges in education.
You know, I've been playing around some of these chatbots myself, and they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see how they could be problematic in a school setting.
Right.
Like, what's to stop a student from just having the chatbot write their essay for them?
That's one of the big concerns raised in the journal article.
Yeah.
Chatbots can generate incredibly human-like text, which raises concerns about plagiarism and academic integrity.
Okay.
We need to be clear with students about the ethical implications of using chatbots for assignments and develop assessment methods that are less susceptible to this kind of AI-assisted cheating.
So maybe less emphasis on traditional essays.
Right.
And more focus on projects, presentations, or even things like debates where students have to think on their feet and demonstrate their knowledge in a way that's harder for a chatbot to fake.
Exactly.
Okay.
We might need to rethink our whole approach to assessment.
Wow. Yeah.
But plagiarism is just one concern. Another big one is data privacy.
Okay, data privacy, yeah.
As students interact with chatbots, they're revealing a lot of information.
Okay.
Their learning style, their interests, their struggles, even their personal opinions.
And we know that data is incredibly valuable, not just to educators, but to companies that want to market to students or influence their behavior.
That's why strong data protection policies are crucial.
Okay.
Students need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and have a say in how it's managed.
Yeah.
We can't just hand over this incredibly sensitive information without safeguards in place.
Okay, so data privacy is a big one.
Yeah.
But what about the issue of algorithmic bias we talked about earlier? Could chatbots perpetuate harmful stereotypes?
Yeah.
Or discriminate against certain groups of students?
Yeah. That's a very real risk.
Okay.
Remember, these systems learn from data. And if that data reflects societal biases, the chatbot will inherit those biases. Imagine a chatbot that consistently steers girls away from STEM fields.
Wow.
Or gives different advice to students based on their race or socioeconomic background.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
No, definitely not.
So it's not enough to just build a chatbot that can have a conversation. We have to be incredibly careful about the data we use to train it and constantly monitor its responses to make sure it's not perpetuating harmful stereotypes.
So we're not just building a chatbot.
Right.
We have to be sure it's not perpetuating harmful stereotypes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that brings up another big challenge.
Okay.
How do we ensure the information chatbots are giving is accurate and appropriate for an educational setting? We've already talked about the problem of AI hallucination.
Yeah, where the AI generates false or misleading information.
Exactly. This is especially tricky with chatbots because they're designed to sound so human-like and convincing.
It's like having a study buddy who sometimes makes up facts.
Right.
Or tells you things that sound plausible but are completely wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why human oversight is still so important.
Okay.
We can't just let chatbots run wild in the classroom.
Right, yeah.
Teachers need to carefully monitor interactions, correct misinformation, and make sure students understand that even the smartest AI can sometimes get things wrong.
But isn't that going to be incredibly time-consuming for teachers?
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to explore ways to automate some of the monitoring process.
Okay.
Maybe we can develop AI systems that flag potentially problematic chatbot responses for human review, or create guidelines and training programs that help teachers become more effective AI supervisors.
So AI to monitor AI.
Right.
It's a bit mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense given how quickly the technology is evolving.
And it underscores the need for flexibility and adaptability in our approach to AI in education.
Right.
We need to be willing to experiment, to learn from our mistakes, and to constantly adjust our strategies as the technology changes.
I think you've raised a really important point. We can't just set up these AI systems and walk away. It's an ongoing process of monitoring, evaluating, and refining our approach to make sure AI is truly serving its intended purpose.
Exactly.
To enhance learning and create a better future for all students.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And speaking of the future, one of the concerns I have is about the potential for over-reliance on chatbots.
Okay, over-reliance.
What happens to students' critical thinking skills?
Right.
Their ability to solve problems independently and their overall sense of self-efficacy if they have a chatbot to answer every question and do their work for them.
It's like having a digital crutch, right?
Yeah.
It might help you in the short term, but in the long run, it could weaken your ability to walk on your own.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
The journal article specifically mentions the concern that students might start to see chatbots as a shortcut to learning, and that they might lose the motivation to really engage with the material, to struggle through difficult problems, and to develop those essential skills that come from hard work and perseverance.
So it's not just about preventing cheating.
Right.
It's about making sure students don't become passive recipients of information.
Exactly.
But active learners who are engaged in the process of discovery and knowledge creation.
Exactly. And that requires a shift in how we think about the role of technology in education. Chatbots can be incredibly valuable tools for providing information, guidance, and personalized support.
Right.
But they should never replace the core elements of learning: active engagement, critical thinking, and independent problem solving.
It's about using chatbots to enhance learning, not to replace it.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And this is where the creativity and expertise of teachers become even more crucial.
Okay.
They need to design learning experiences that leverage the power of chatbots while ensuring that students are still developing those essential skills.
It's like a balancing act, right?
Yeah.
Using AI to support and enhance the learning process, but also making sure it doesn't undermine those fundamental human skills that are so important for success in life, not just in school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a balancing act that requires constant attention, careful planning, and a willingness to adapt as the technology continues to evolve.
Well, this has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the exciting potential of AI to the very real ethical challenges it presents.
Right.
I'm feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension, to be honest.
I think that's a healthy response.
Yeah.
AI is a powerful force, and it's up to us to shape how it's used in education.
So where do we go from here? How do we make sure AI is a force for good in education rather than a source of new problems?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And one we'll continue to explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into strategies for responsible AI implementation, the evolving role of teachers, and what it means to create a truly ethical and equitable learning environment in the age of AI.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So we've been on quite a journey exploring AI in education.
We have.
We've seen amazing potential.
Yeah.
But we've also uncovered some, pretty complex ethical challenges.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface, really.
Right.
But I think the main takeaway is that AI is a powerful tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Right.
It depends how we use it.
Exactly. And that brings us to the big question.
Yeah.
How do we make sure AI is a force for good in education?
Right.
Where do we even begin?
Well, one of the most important things is to involve everyone in the conversation.
Right.
We can't just leave it up to tech companies or policymakers. We need educators, students, parents, the community as a whole to be part of making decisions.
So it's about creating a shared understanding of both the potential benefits and the risks of AI.
Exactly. And then working together to set some ground rules. And
those ground rules need to be adaptable, right?
Exactly.
What works today might not be enough tomorrow.
Right.
As AI technology keeps, advancing.
At a dizzying pace, we need to constantly be evaluating and adjusting how we approach it.
Okay, I'm getting the sense that flexibility and adaptability are going to be really crucial in this whole AI journey.
Yeah.
But setting ground rules is one thing.
Right.
Making sure people actually follow them is another.
Exactly.
So how do we ensure that AI is actually used responsibly and ethically in, real-world classrooms?
That's where education comes in. We need to make sure everyone involved, educators, students, even parents, understands the ethical considerations surrounding AI. Yeah. It's about more than just teaching kids how to use the tools. It's about teaching them how to think critically about AI, to question the outputs, to recognize potential biases, and to understand the implications of data privacy.
So AI ethics is a core subject alongside math, science, and history.
Exactly.
I really like that idea.
Yeah.
It's about empowering students to be informed, responsible users of AI.
Right.
Not just passive consumers.
Absolutely. It's about equipping them with the knowledge and skills they need to navigate an increasingly AI-driven world.
Right.
And it's not just students. Teachers need ongoing professional development to keep up with the rapid pace of change.
Right.
So they can effectively integrate these tools while addressing the ethical challenges.
This all makes sense, but I have to admit, it feels a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be.
There's so much to consider. Where do we even start?
You're right. It can feel like a daunting task.
Yeah.
But remember, we don't have to figure everything out overnight.
Right.
Start with small steps.
All right.
Have conversations with colleagues.
Yeah.
Explore resources online. Experiment with AI tools in your classroom.
Right.
The important thing is to start the journey.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Start small, stay curious, be open to learning as we go.
Exactly.
But there's one thing that keeps, nagging at me.
Okay.
We've talked about all these safeguards,
Yeah.
data governance, ethical guidelines, human oversight. But is it really possible to control AI? What's to stop someone from using it for, harmful purposes?
That's a question that keeps a lot of people up at night.
Yeah.
And honestly, there are no easy answers.
Right.
But I think it comes down to, our values as a society.
Great.
What do we prioritize?
Yeah.
What kind of future do we want to create?
At the beginning of this deep dive, I was mostly excited about, the potential of AI to personalize learning and make education more, accessible and engaging. But now I'm realizing it's so much more than that.
It is. Yeah. It's about who we are as humans, what we value, and how we want to shape the world.
Yeah.
AI is just a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it reflects the intentions of its creators and users.
So it's not just about building better AI.
Right.
It's about becoming better humans.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
We need to cultivate those qualities that make us uniquely human.
Like what?
Empathy, compassion, critical thinking, creativity, a sense of justice, and fairness.
Those are the things that'll guide us as we, navigate these uncharted waters of AI.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
That's a perfect note to end on.
Well, this deep dive has been like a whirlwind of information and insights.
It has.
It's left me with a lot to think about, but also a sense of hope.
That's great.
AI has the potential to transform education.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to ensure it's a transformation for the better.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining me on this journey.
It's been a pleasure sharing these ideas with you.
And to our listeners, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep pushing for an ethical and equitable future for AI in education.
Absolutely.